It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview two business owners of the podcast, What the Puck. How are y'all doing today?
Very good, very good. Just trying to stay safe, not get sick, hanging in there. Kind of missing hockey at this point. We'd have a lot more to talk about, so we're just doing previews currently on our show, but just hoping hockey comes back in January and hanging in there, man.
That's wonderful. Don, can you tell me how y'all got started with the podcast?
Yeah, sure. So What the Puck is an offshoot of the podcast Game On, a sports podcast for everyone, which I started, and it started January 31st of 2020, which is probably the worst time to start a sports podcast. I started doing it on my own, actually, and then me and Jeff, who have a mutual friend, hooked us up together. We got to talking, and Jeff is now my co-host, or the other half, I should say, because he does his own stuff too on the show. So there's no co-host; it's just me and Jeff together, and that's how we started doing that route. And we just do the hockey portion of it and do our thing.
Jeff, can you talk about what do y'all cover and What the Puck?
It all depends. We basically kicked off right before the Stanley Cup bubble, or however you want to say it, the bubble hockey playoffs, and then round robins and whatnot started up. We basically gave our thoughts, our views, and who we thought was gonna actually do what in the Western Conference versus the teams in the Eastern Conference. And there it just kind of like slid into every week we'd sit there and chat about how the games are going. At the time, I was back home in a small town upstate New York, hanging out with family and friends, but I was consistently watching hockey from 12 o'clock in the afternoon to about whenever the last game was on. And then right after the last game, I'd go ahead and create these little updates and post them on our Instagram and go from there. So that's pretty much what we're doing.
Don, what segments do you have on the podcast, What the Puck?
Well, we have, the main show is called What the Puck. It's not really segmented out, but Jeff does his thing with his Tea Time Talks, where he has a lot of connections in the British Hockey League over in England. He was stationed there for a little bit at the military. He played out there, I believe. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, I played with a couple of beer league teams as well as a couple of military teams. Got a couple of the jerseys in the background.
Jeff, can you talk about some of the people that you've interviewed?
As far as some of the people that I've interviewed, on our show, mainly just my buddies over in England. Dan Breen, at one point in time, he was the match night voice for the Peterborough Phantoms, as well as a few other things. He also writes for Pro Hockey News over in the UK. I've interviewed another good buddy of mine, Tom Norton. He plays defense as well as an assistant defensive coach for the Phantoms. A few other people such as Joe Wilson. He coaches over in Chelmsford, UK. Good buddy of mine, Alice Padlick, who used to play for the Phantoms for the last few years. He actually has a really great connection with a certain player on the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not going to mention anything on this show of who it is, but it's one of the young studs that everybody likes on the team. From there, I interviewed another good friend of mine who plays in the Elite League over in the UK. So right now, I'm mainly chatting with a bunch of my Peterborough Phantoms people, but who knows where it's going to lead. I just brought Donnie in today with Dan, and we chatted for a good hour and a half on some of our stuff and also some of the great things that are coming out of the UK, even though they are currently in lockdown. So again,
That's wonderful. Don, can you talk about some of the people that you are some of your favorites that you've interviewed?
Well, I mean, as far as this show, as far as What the Puck, I mean, there hasn't been any big guests yet. We're still building the brand, so to speak, as an offshoot of Game On, a sports podcast for everyone. We haven't really had a lot of guests that have been, big. I mean, that you can say. I mean, to British hockey, absolutely. These guys are instrumental in getting that going, and players, and what Jeff's doing is great, and kind of cornering the market there is not something that Americans here know. I mean, some do, but a lot of people don't take it seriously, and I feel that it is a good league. I mean, I looked at highlights.
Jeff, can you talk about the hockey team?
Watch stuff, and we're happy people abreast of what's going on in England and have a league to watch. I mean, that's awesome to us. So, I mean, as far as guests, nothing yet as far as like the NHL or hockey in America. That's coming. Don't you worry about that. But I mean, right now with the big guys over in England, I mean, that's what we're doing as far as cornering the market there. And right now hockey's not going on, so I'm going to try and get some guys on. I have some connections in the East Coast with some guys, so we'll see what happens.
Jeff, can you talk about the segment, the Hockey Tea Chat?
Again, it's just to help Americans realize that there's more hockey out there than just your NHL, OHL, CHL, SPHL, the American version of the OHL or the CHL, and I mean all the other semi-pro leagues that we have over here in North America. I know with a lot of the players that are coming up in out of Europe now that are playing in the NHL or playing on a lot of the teams that they're picking out of the drafts, their countries are now being seen. One of the more famous ones that got drafted from the UK not too long ago was Liam Kirk. Small fact that a lot of people don't know, everybody's heard of Rod Stewart, the singer. He's won Grammys upon golden records over how many decades. His son plays over in Milton Keynes. And Milton Keynes is a same level as the Peterborough Phantoms of the NIHL. But it's something to kind of like help everybody on this side of North America realize there is talent over in England. And it's not just the talent, but it's also, I'm going to start trying to bring in the fan base too. I got a lot of connections with the fan base, some of the higher ups in the management level, different teams that have managers that I'm still friends with to this day. So that's basically what I'm trying to do with this hockey tea time chat. Is just it's an education. It's a chance for me to catch up with a lot of my old friends that I haven't seen in the last couple of years. And with technology nowadays, it's only getting better. So hopefully the more I do that, the more people, I mean, heck, even if people didn't realize you could do something like this, I advise them to reach out. Don't be afraid, try something new, and you never know what it's going to bring. I'm planning some big interviews here coming up in a couple of weeks, not only in the UK, but possibly Australia and maybe Japan. Who knows?
That's wonderful. Don, can you talk about what you've learned now that you didn't know beforehand starting?
Well, I mean, I started this really, I mean, with Game On, a sports podcast for everyone, like you see behind me on the banner. I mean, I started as a green thumb. Like I didn't know anything about podcasting. Like I know I wanted to talk about it and get my knowledge out there as far as sports are concerned. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable on it and feel like I can hold a conversation. And and do it that way. But it was the technical side that scared me a bit. Trying to find all the right equipment, everything like that. But honestly, the best advice I can give anyone that's just starting is just do it. The numbers show someone that starts a podcast usually quits after their 7th episode. Just keep going. You never know where it's going to go. We've changed a couple times. I mean, we started with Game On, and I just did my What the Puck segment where I'd come on for 30 minutes and I just talk about hockey. But I felt like it needed a co-host, and then I felt like it needed to be its own thing under the umbrella of Game On, and it needed to do hockey justice and have its own following. So that's what we decided on. Me and Jeff branched out with that, and that's what we're doing. And I feel anyone that starts anything, whether it's a podcast on hockey or whether it's a podcast on tennis, I don't care what it is, just do it. If you have that mentality, if you're looking to do something like that and you can talk and you have the wherewithal to have a solid conversation and an intellectual conversation about said topic, just do it, man. I mean, just read up. There's a lot of stuff you can do, a lot of different things. I mean, the equipment, that was the hardest part for me. But getting over that hump after, doing it for a little bit, and you have your up days, you have your down days where you put out an episode and it's like, why isn't anyone listening to it? But at the end of the day, as long as you have fun doing it, when it stops becoming fun, that's when it turns into something that it shouldn't be, because it should be fun all the time.
Jeff, can you talk about like what you've learned now that you didn't know beforehand?
I'm still kind of a novice myself to this. I feel like I was on a current show. I've been guest on different podcasts. Over the years, because of who I've met throughout my military career, especially over in England with Chris Kabui at Hockey Tutorial, the friends that I made throughout the Phantom system, and being on camera kind of like helped me out a little bit, as well as like the fan base over there. So combining all that together, and then the help that Donnie's given me, and the trust and the faith that he's given in me, I now know I can operate at least 8 different social media pages between the helping out with Game On Instagram, as well as What the Puck, as well as my own Instagram pages, operating 3 different Twitter accounts, operating 2 different Facebook pages, as well as trying to maintain all the videos that we're doing and all the podcasts. Donnie does a lot of the technical side. I kind of do some of the artistic side. And combined together, I think I basically told him I'm like an old dog learning new tricks. So and I need to give a shout out to another guy that I'm really good friends with. I've known over the years. I'm sure you've probably seen some of his pages, Brandon, my apologies. It's been a long day for him. He's been up since 3:30 this morning. So
it's cool.
But my good friend Lee Elias, who operates like a few different pages, a few different products out there, like Blade Shades, and one of the original co-founders of the Hockey Wraparound. He taught me a lot just watching him do his thing. Now that I look at it, I paid attention more than what I thought I paid attention. So coming from what I thought I had from scratch, seeing where it's actually led to, like Donnie was saying, sometimes you have those rough days. But I'm glad that I had to start out from scratch. I'm glad I had people that were supporting me. And again, you do hit your rough patches. I hit my rough patch, and Donnie basically found me and built me back up, and we are where we are now.
That's wonderful. Can you talk about, Donnie, some of the future plans for What the Puck?
Yeah, I mean, obviously future plans. I mean, we'd like to have, numerous guests on, whether it be NHL, junior teams, AHL. Obviously, Jeff has the market cornered in England and a couple other places, but we'd like to build on that and build on the momentum. I mean, obviously, right now we've made that change and the hockey's over. So that's the test, right? Like, okay, so what are we doing? What are we going to focus on? What are we going to be maintaining at that point? So, there's a lot of things that we have in mind that we're discussing on what we're going to do, as far as getting our own, what the puck YouTube and putting stuff out there, like, fun, entertaining, videos, short videos. I don't feel the long ones do much justice, but I mean, there's a lot of plans. I mean, it'll be fun to see where we go once hockey season starts and we have a full season under our belt. I mean, mainly we just started with the playoffs. I mean, yeah, I started on my own when pretty much when the trade deadline happened at the end of February, and I was covering that. But then hockey took a back seat. So I mean, this is still, we haven't had a full season yet to kind of get out the kinks and see how we can cover it and get that going. So I'm excited to see what we can do. Jeff's very knowledgeable. Not to pat myself on the back, but I'm pretty knowledgeable hockey wise. So I mean, it's just a lot of fun, honestly. I mean, I'm not looking for a payday in the first 2-3 months this thing is going to go, but obviously the end goal is we want to be known in the hockey community and known for our coverage and what we talk about and that little flavor that we bring and the attitude that we bring and the humor, the humor that we bring as well to the actual subject.
That's wonderful. Jeff, what are some of your future plans when it comes to What the Puck?
Well, I'm going to joke around on this answer. So I want to be put up on the shelf. I want to be like that whole golden statue, kind of like, hey, that's that guy. Nah, just kidding. My future plans are just to learn what I can and do what I can in the moment. Again, it's an everyday process. You learn something new every day. Donnie has helped me out quite a bit. I reach out to other resources as well. So I want to see us go places, and not just for any kind of fame or any kind of glory, but to let people know that when you put your mind to something, you can do it and you keep on doing it. And me being a goalie in ice hockey, you take your shots, you receive the shots, you walk away with bruises, bumps, but you know what? They heal. And that's what this show is. We've taken a bunch of bumps, we've taken a bunch of bruises, but we're healing. We're coming out stronger than we ever have. We do miss one of our crew members that is unable to be on the show currently. He started out with us, but had to take a step back for a little while. And, but I mean, right now we're working on possibility of getting sponsorship from the UK. We're still in the mix with that. But right now it's kind of like a scratch. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You take care of us, we'll take care of you type of deal. So I just want to see us going places and having fun doing it. Like Donnie also said, once you stop realizing that this is fun, it's more of a job, then it's time to step back and reanalyze everything.
Jeff, can you talk about, I've seen your jersey collection right behind you. Can you talk about that and how that has attracted some viewers?
I have a wide variety and a wide range of jerseys. I have everywhere from my beer league team jerseys to the Air Force teams that I've played on, to the British Air Force teams I've played on, to NHL jerseys, semi-pro jerseys. I think it attracts people because it's not always going to be the same jersey in the background. Donnie can vouch for this one. It seems like every show I have like at least 4 or 5 different new jerseys in the background. Whether we're going to be on camera or not. It's always nice to see the variety. So I think some people, they only collect like one team's jersey, but there's a whole variety of things out there. It's kind of like making a pizza. Do you like just one topping, or do you want to throw like the whole kit and caboodle on there and kind of like spice things up a little bit? So
It also makes me want to up my jersey game a bit. I think I have like 6 hockey jerseys, and 3 of them are Ranger jerseys. So, oh well.
And currently, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Clarkson University in upstate New York, but I got their jersey on right now too. So
Nice.
Donnie, can you talk about what are some advice that you would give upcoming future sports talk podcasts?
Well, like I said earlier, I think I touched on it a little bit. I mean, just do your thing, be yourself, have a good time doing it. You'll learn. Google, YouTube will be your best friend, researching things. Just go about it your way. Make it yours. Don't try to copy the next person. Don't try to be that person. That's when it gets stale and it turns into just a joke at the end of the day. You want to have your own spin on things. You want to have your own opinion. That's what people are going to listen to you for, not because you sound like this guy or that guy, or you want to be this, or it's not going to happen. Like, yeah, one of the best hockey podcasts I listen to is Spit and Chicklets. But it doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and try to be like them. I'm not Biz. I'm not any of them. So I'm Don. Jeff is Jeff. We have our own stories in the hockey world. We have our own takes on hockey, and that's what we're going to do. And like I said earlier, just have fun with it, man. It's all just fun. You're sitting down and doing what you would do at a bar, but you're broadcasting that bar conversation all over the world, so anyone can listen to it. So just have fun with it and give your take and be yourself. That's it. That's the best advice, I think. Coming into it with a green thumb and not knowing much about it, and going and learning on my way along this journey since the end of January, and having that tough, like, sports died like a month after I started this podcast. Like, there was nothing going on. So you had to really make your way and dig a little bit. Like, yeah, we had, minor league baseball, GMs on the show. There was no baseball going on. We had, coaching, minor league coaches. One of my buddies is a minor league coach in the Toronto Blue Jays system. We had him on. And, there's certain things that, you just find a way to put content out, and good content, and just make it yours. That's it. I mean, that's the best advice I can give anybody starting out in the podcast game, or even YouTube or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just make it yours, put your spin on it, have the confidence, and do your thing.
Jeff, do you have any advice for upcoming sports talk podcasts looking to get started?
I think one of the best things to talk about there is when we're born, we aren't born and then walk right away. You learn how to crawl before you learn how to walk. You learn how to walk before you learn how to run. And that's all, not only the podcast world, but that's everything in life. Don't rush it. I've been wanting to do this British thing even before I got on this podcast with Donnie at Game On. I had this idea of brewing, but I didn't know how to get it off the ground. And when you first start a podcast, don't go after all the big names. Go after people that people never heard of, because right there, it's networking. Once you talk with one person, they bring up another person, and they're like, hey, why don't you contact so-and-so? And then when you start talking to that person, and that person goes, hey, why don't you try to get a hold of this person, and so on and so forth. And it kind of dominoes. And before you know it, you might have a huge name on your show, and you're like, wow, looking back, you can say we did this. Or if you're a solo artist, you can say, I did this. I made this tiny tree grow into something huge. And now everybody's able to enjoy not only what I created, but something that I took from nothing and brought it up. So
that's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find What the Puck at on social media along with podcast platforms?
So right now we're waiting on approval for a couple. We are on Apple and we are on Spotify and Anchor FM. Our Twitter, Jeff, you may want to cover this because I always forget our Twitter because it's new. Go ahead.
So our Twitter is, or no, I know what our Instagram is.
Okay,
Our Instagram is @whatthepuck_podcast. You can find us on Facebook at What the Puck, by Game On, sports podcast for everyone, as well as on Twitter. We are
What the Puck Pod 1 at What the Puck Pod 1 is our Twitter, and also if we retweet everything on Game On. So on Twitter it's at Game On Everyone, and on Instagram it's at Game On Sports Podcast.
Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck with What the Puck podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot, Brandon. You have a good day. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, y'all, for your interview, and best of luck.
Have a good one, bud.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.